Hey everyone, this is Urbany here with a bit of an overview of the Three Circle growth strategy project. As we know, the goal is growth, and in a variety of different entities we might look at this. So new innovations, how do we grow the number of users? In a mature market, how do we grow market share? Banks, how do we grow the loan portfolio, for example? How do we grow share of stomach? Passenger miles? School, how do you grow enrollments in a competitive schooling environment these days? United Way in a very competitive market for donations or for volunteer hours. How do we grow these sorts of metrics? They all revolve around the same kinds of strategy problems. And I wanted to note a comment here from Chris Bardeggia of Whirlpool, who I think provides a nice summary of the process here, which is a systematic way to identify growth opportunities with a focus on and centered around customer needs. And this is the most significant point. We have 5 steps. We define context. We look at value 2 ways. We sort that value, and then from that we get a really disciplined way to be able to identify and think through and brainstorm about growth strategy, and then develop tactics. The context has 4 parts. My goal is to figure out how our company can grow a metric, a performance metric, in this case we'll say AM revenue, by creating more value for a customer segment than a competitor does. Issue here is putting boundaries on the project, creating a narrow focus, and the paradox is that the clearer your focus can be up in defining these 4 things, the more depth you'll get into in the project, and probably the more generalizable some of the outcomes will be. And that begins with the notion of value, where we start. If this is our McDonald's executive, let's say, we ask you, put yourself in the shoes of potential customers or in the shoes of the target market, and think through in a deep way, how does this person choose between Starbucks and McDonald's in the particular situation that we're thinking about here? So there are multiple factors. So you make a list, you identify, put yourself in those shoes again, and think through what are the factors, and there are going to be many others. How important are they to the target customers? What do they believe about McDonald's versus Starbucks? Do they believe that they're equal in their delivery of value in those dimensions? Does McDonald's have some advantage? Does Starbucks have some advantage? That's the executive's view. Real important point, though, we have a separate step 3. This is a reflection of a lot of feedback from our executives about how much they learn comparing what they thought to what customers actually tell them. So this executive said, we never had an opportunity, nor do I think we actually sought to ask customers. So that's what we do in step 3. You're having a conversation with customer here, and it essentially is an effort to replicate and identify the specific aspects of the analysis you did, but in the customer's terms. So these factors that the customer lays out may be very similar to the ones you laid out, may be different. The differences are really important and often very insightful and important to growth strategy. We ask directly about and make inferences about importance, about beliefs about McDonald's and Starbucks, but we get them from the customer's perspective. So this is what I think, what the customer thinks here. Sorting. We know that the model creates a number of strategically relevant categories to understand value in the market. So we have the value sought by the customer, we have the customer's perception of the value we deliver, which gives us 3 different areas here, but it's not fully meaningful until we put the competitor's circle in here. What does the customer believe that the competitor delivers? Now we know that whether you're talking about Michael Porter or the resource-based view of the firm, there is a real focus in competitive strategy on understanding this key concept that is very simply illustrated by this model, and that is our unique value, the unique value that we create, the value we create that matters to customers but that is different than competitors. That's our area A. We also have 7 different total 7 different areas that each have strategic meaning. So sorting is about, well, how do we take this feedback from customers and categorize it? Because the different factors that we own versus what the competitor owns versus what neither of us own has important implications for growth, as we saw with the Glenview New Church Primary School. Now, a small and caring environment was the big advantage for this school, but in Pastor Buss's mind, Pastor Buss, who did this analysis, it wasn't nearly as important, and in the customers' minds and potential and parents' minds as the evidence that the public school, the competitor, was able to generate through its standardized testing. So one of many different insights that were obtained in this project that helped develop a growth strategy for the school. But note that the sorting takes place for all categories all together, and from that we can develop and brainstorm about growth strategies. First step is brainstorming, and it's straightforward. Once we get the value sorted, we can go through a systematic process of with our team. Well, how do we build and defend our advantages? How do we correct or reduce, remove, or maybe better communicate the value that's over here, because it may be important value. We're just not communicating it. How do we neutralize, and should we neutralize, competitors' advantages? And then how do we explore and innovate opportunities in areas? See, now the thing that's really important about this is that it's not just one of these. It's very powerfully looking at all the opportunities to grow value in a way that has a lot of synergy. So it's not just the classic competitive strategy exercise of how do we create an advantage. It's several of these things together that makes it this a very powerful exercise, which culminates in selecting some of those ideas to execute based upon our assessment of our own capabilities, and then developing tactics on that. So we'll continue to build this out a little bit in some additional videos very soon. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.